Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to put together my December daily bookshelf, and I hope you guys are ready because this is a little bit of a longer video. Now, some of the steps might get repetitive, so if I feel like they are, then I'll just go ahead and put on some music and speed up that part. But for the most part, you'll get to hear me chatter away about making this bookshelf. Now, I make a bookshelf every year to document my books in some way, and it seems like every year I try to outdo myself or just, I don't know, go up the next level. So this year I decided to scrap lift Paige Evans, who did a kind of paper-pieced Halloween bookshelf. And so I was like, that is really cool. And instead of using my book stamps, I would use pieces of paper for the books. And I could also add in different decorations that I could find in the papers or that I could make. And so I made a list of the different decorations that I could make along with the books, and I'm going to make those. But first, you can see that I am cutting out all the different books that I want to include. I pulled my papers from this year along with last year, and I don't even know, probably several years. I just grabbed my whole stash trying to figure out which papers will work best to make my books. Now, as you can see, I started out with a white background, and I thought I was going to use that white background. But later on, you will see that I kind of changed my mind because I felt like the white was really bright. And again, I wanted to challenge myself to do something else. So I am going to get another idea to make my bookcases. So I am, like I said, just busy cutting out all of these books. And my goal is to find some way to make the books that I read kind of interactive, a little bit bigger, and also stand out just a little bit more. So I saw Heba do a project where she did sticker paper to adhere her books and the book covers and to make it kind of interactive. So I'm going to go ahead and try that with sticker paper. Now, I did something similar for my October daily bookshelf, but I did not share it because I just ran out of time to share with you guys all the different things that I came up with for that album. But I love how my bookshelf turned out for October daily. But still, I took it to one level higher for December daily, of course, because I had the best time making this, you guys. Putting all the books together and coming up with all the different decorations that I have. I know that one of them that I'm making, I'm going to use that star as the top of a Christmas tree. I want to have a Christmas tree on my shelf, so pretending that there is a fake Christmas tree on my bookshelf. And I thought, ornaments. How can I make ornaments? So I decided to paper punch some gold pieces out of this particular paper right here, and I just made a little pile of them, so I will glue them on later on down the road. But those will make fantastic little ornaments because they have the little bit of shine to them. I also loved this vine paper, not only as a book, but also as a layer of the tree. And then I found this nutcracker paper in this year's paper, and I was looking on the paper for where there was the 3 different nutcrackers all in one spot. I found it and I cut them all out. So I'm going to have 3 cute little guys on my shelves for the nutcrackers. And earlier you saw that I cut out an orange slice, and I think I only cut out 1 orange slice, and I meant to cut out 2, but that's okay. So I'll have the orange slices and also nutcrackers and a tree decoration. And up in the top left corner, you can see I made a house decoration. So kind of like a decor item that would be a pretend house, I guess, from a winter village. So I have that, and I'm going to put all of these pieces together onto the page to make a bookshelf, and I'm super excited. I don't think I mentioned this yet, but I am currently researching books and trying to order books for December. I like to read children's books, graphic novels, romance novels, anything and everything that has to do with the season I tend to enjoy. I have a few already ready for me to enjoy that are coming in at the library, but I'm still looking for some. So when I was trying to pick my papers for the spines of the books, I really wanted to pick papers that could really look like actual spines of books. So like the ones I just cut out was kind of the beige and red striped. And so I really liked that. So I cut that out, and same thing with the ho-ho paper. So that's one of the things that I think you got to remember, or try to remember when you're making your own bookcase, is that, pick papers that are visually interesting and kind of look like the spines of books. So I am going to make 2 shelves, but I think I wind up making 3 because I really wanted all of that extra room to play. And I have my folded piece of paper that I can use to kind of guide me as I'm leaving space for the larger books. And now this portion, I thought about not including it in the video, but really what I was doing is setting up all my pieces, and then that's when I kind of walked away and I was like, I really want to make this look more cozy and have a wood background, like a wood bookcase. So I still included this because it just shows another step in my process, because at this point I still thought I was going to do white bookcases, but to me it just looked too plain. I am finishing up with the tree and figuring out how many different branches I need, and I thought about doing like a crisscross pattern for the tree, and I think that could have been even more dimensional, but I didn't have time, so I decided to just skip that idea. But someone else could definitely try that idea. And I added in the ornaments. And then I walked away and I decided, you know what? I have enough cardstock. I can make this work. I am going to need 2 different colors of brown and kind of do a color blocking, but that's going to work just fine. And the lighting was a little off in this portion of the video, so I apologize for that. But I found a light colored cardstock that I'm going to put on top and then a darker one on the bottom, and I think it still works seamlessly. And I just used the cheap copy paper underneath, so that way it had a nice base. And I mean, I could have used cardstock, but I thought copy paper works just fine. One of the papers did have kind of a hole in it, but I'm going to cover that up later on, and it's not even going to make a big deal. So I'll just trim off these extra pieces that I don't need, and I can get started on building my shelves. And again, I thought it was going to be 2, but it's actually going to be 3. And Paige Evans even did like paper pieced shelves by using brown strips of cardstock for like the different shelves and different sections. So I'm going to do that as well. I got a really bright brown cardstock that really didn't blend into the pieces that I have here for the bookcases, so it's going to work really nice. And so I am using up all of my cardstock, and I wanted to make sure I got the holes in now, so that way when I'm setting things up, I don't put anything too close to where the holes are going to be. And now you can see I moved one of my boards because I used a second board to put together this bookcase. I wanted to remember where everything was going to go, so I'm glad I have more than one poster board. I have like 5. I just collect them from the dollar store, and I just use them for all different things. Like right now, I am making a book ornament. I shared that on my Instagram last year with the books that I read, and now I'm sharing the one for this year. I'm going to share that, I think, on Tuesday. Now that I have like all the pieces and I know where I want the pieces, it's super easy to just put them back onto the shelf. But the first thing that I wanted to do was kind of distress the edges of the shelves. Now, looking back, I don't know if this step was necessary. I mean, it was really hard to distress the edges, but I thought that would kind of make them stand out a little bit more, give them a little bit of a rough texture to them, which it does. So that part I really love, but it's not something you can totally see. So once I have the first shelf laid down, I can begin building my first little spot. And another thing that Paige Evans did is she took like plain cardstock and used that as well. And I think she stamped like itty bitty stamped phrases on there. I didn't do that because I had done that a previous year. So this year I decided to use like my paint markers and doodle some designs on the book covers. So I will do that later on. And again, using the, what is it called? Like the mock-up that I have of the book size, using that as kind of my guide for measuring. And I try not to put books of the two same colors next to each other. And so that way it gives it like a different contrast and it just makes it look really visually awesome. So I also grab this really pretty red cardstock so I can doodle a design on it as well. And I'm just going to keep going and building all of my different pieces. And I'm very excited to see this come together. It was a labor of love, but it turned out awesome. And I just put it together on a day when my kids had friends over and they could run wild while I am creating to my heart's content. So the only thing is like when my kids have friends over, I really don't want to like put in my headphones just in case things go awry. So I'm like, that's the only bummer. I can't listen to like an audiobook, but I do listen to music because it helps to drown out the noise just a little bit. So on the second shelf is where I'm going to do the snow globe, and I used a 10x8 tag paper and just trim that out for the house. And I have to make a roof, which turns out to be incredibly tricky, and it turned out so wonky. It's just, I don't know, it's an adorable little wonky house. And later on I'll add 2 windows and also a door. And I grabbed a wood veneer house, you can see it up in the top right corner, as kind of my inspiration. And I really wanted a green color that was going to pop off of the house and not like blend in. So I remembered that there was this bright green paper, so I cut a portion of that to be my door. So again, getting really creative with the different uses of paper. And I thought this paper would make a great roof. So I cut a portion of it and kind of just eyeballed how I was going to get it to be a roof. Obviously, it has to be a triangle, right? But when I was cutting it, I felt like I cut it too small. And like I said a little bit ago, it's just going to be a wonky, cute little house. And that is just fine. So the next step is to add some more books on this shelf, and I just do a mix of different sizes. And for that white book, that's one of the ones that I will add some paint to, and just a fun little design. And then I also tilt a book with a red piece of paper. I was trying to make sure that I didn't get 2 neutrals right next to each other. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like red, green, or all the neutrals together. But it just wouldn't work that way. So I decided to just go with the neutrals, so the gray and also the white right there. And I will break up the neutrals and make it not look so neutral when I add in the gold paint, so it should all work out. I decided to add in that third shelf because I have that room, and that way, like I already said, I can have all the fun with all the different pieces and finding lots of different ways to fill up my shelves. I'm even going to make a snow globe in a little bit, you guys, and I'm super excited. So I grabbed a gold paint marker and I just made some little diamonds on the on the grid paper, and then I made some stars on the green book that is up in the top shelf. And then for the red one that I kind of tilted in the second shelf, I did like squigglies, basically triangles, and I love how they came out. I just have to make sure that I go really slow and I don't smear anything, but it turned out fantastic. They all did. So this is a lot of fun and a great way to use up all the papers, because I have a million papers and I'd love to find more ways to use up my papers. Like, I need to use them up. So in the end, when I get all done with this, I will have, I think 6 to 9, I think 9 spots for books. And so I just need to do a little more research to find some books. Now I have this second side over here and I need to fill in the holes where the bookcase, I did not have the cardstock that would fit right there. Like, it just I didn't have enough of a big piece. So I'll just use the leftover pieces and fill it in, and you won't even be able to tell. So this is where I'm gonna add in a piece and then just another piece, and you can't tell. Especially when I add in the books and the tree, it will look great. So I hope you guys are enjoying me putting this together, and I am, like I said, I had a lot of fun putting this together. It made a giant mess, but it was so worth it. And I'm also working on putting together some more prep pages, which I'm excited to share with you hopefully on Friday. Wednesday is going to be a book journal video, and it's the last favorite for September. I feel like I've gotten so behind on my reading journal, but that's okay. And I'm also thinking about how I'm going to document books next year. If you've watched any of my reading journal videos, you know that I'm trying to decide between doing discs or a bound journal. Now, bound journals, I love those, but I feel like they get really chunky and I just need more room. So I'd have to buy like 2 notebooks. But anyways, back to this project. I am distressing the bookshelves, and I used 1/4-inch strips of brown cardstock, and I will add the second shelf and also the third shelf, and then I will begin to place items on there, and I'll go ahead and speed it up and add just a little bit of music. So the first thing I'm going to do is add that orange slice and just add a little bit of distressing for fun. Next up is figuring out how to make a snow globe. So I grabbed a piece of vellum and I realized, you know what, that might work, but I don't know how I could make it see-through. I don't know how I could make it look like a snow globe. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, I have my leftover laminated pieces, because every time I run something through a laminator, I always save the leftover scraps. So I had that. So I figured that I could put the vellum on the bottom layer and then put the laminated pocket on top. And right here, I'm kind of just building my tree so that way I could see how far it's going to go up and whether or not I'm going to add a few more books. And I know that I am. I also was just checking to see if I needed a thicker branch down at the bottom, which I do. So I'm kind of jumping around right now between the tree and the snow globe. I think I went back to the Christmas tree because I was thinking over my snow globe. And then I decided to go back over to finishing the third shelf of my bookcase. I don't know if this idea is going to work. You know how that happens. You come up with a great idea and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. So I'm just going to wait on it. Like I'm not going to jump off the cliff quite yet. So I'm going to go over to this thing that's a little bit safer. I think that was my thinking. So I'm going to finish up this shelf, add in a little bit of music, speed it up, and then we'll come back to the snow globe. Okay, back to the snow globe. I am going to use some double-sided adhesive tape since I do not sew yet. It is something that I've always wanted to learn for December Daily, but I have never gotten around to it. So I have to come up with a workaround. And I'm going to do this by adding the double-sided tape, which is a really thin width. I'm going to add it to the very edge of my scalloped vellum, and then I will just cut off the excess, making sure that I go in the same pattern and cut off the excess in the scallop way, if that makes sense. And so I'll just put little pieces along the edge and then also one down at the bottom. But before I seal it in, I am going to peel off the double-sided pieces and then add in my snow globe pieces. It's going to be so cool, and it turned out awesome. So I take this cross pattern I think it's called something else. I've heard someone say it's like a Swiss pattern. Tell me if I'm wrong. But anyways, I use my punch and I punch out a few of the shapes, and I make sure to pull ones that have a really good bright color to them, bright pattern. Then I'm going to add in something else a little fancy. The tag transparencies this year from the main kit, they have, the holes and they're stars instead. They're not a circle, it's a star. So I saved all of those and I put 2 of those inside of the snow globe. And once I have it all packed in there, I can go ahead and close it up and sandwich it. Now I just have to figure out what the bottom piece of my snow globe is going to be. It turned out so cool. So proud of myself for coming up with this. I love it. So I'm going to do the bottom of the globe using one of these presents from, I think it's a paper from last year. I picked this first one and it's really not white enough. It's not what I was looking for. I need something that's a little bit whiter. So I go and grab a second one and I just kind of eyeball it to see where I want it, because I do want to have that gold piece of the wrapping to still be there. So I just trim it and then adhere it down, and then I can adhere down my little snow globe. And now with the laminate on top, you can touch it and it feels like a puffy sticker, or just dimensional, and it's just so cool. It's not like a snow globe in the traditional sense where you can shake it, but it definitely looks like a snow globe, and I'm proud of myself. So again, like I said, just having the best afternoon making this. And now I'm going to put the tree on. I distressed the edge of the tree stump. That was like the only brown colored cardstock that I had left. So I'm like, you know what? That's just going to have to work. It kind of blends into the bookcases, but whatever, I'm just going to go with it. And I found a really dark green that'll work great for the bottom layer. And then I just use little strips of paper going all the way up and using that fussy cut star up at the top. And now I'll add in some sparkly ornaments, and I think I did 6 total, and just used my glue pen to put them down. And then you can see I needed a few more, so I went back to the paper and just used a few more. And I feel like that is another really fantastic idea to get some little ornaments and just a little bit of even confetti. Like if I could sew, I would definitely make a confetti pocket with all the different papers punched in a confetti thing. It would just be fantastic. So I needed to make another green book for the bottom shelf. So I went ahead and cut one, and I just have a few more books to place on that bottom shelf, and then I can go ahead and start working on the book covers, which is going to be tricky. And it's going to take a while, but again, if I feel like things are going a little bit slow, I can always fast forward it, speed it up, and then turn it on voiceover. So I also wanted to make sure that I glued down my door and my 2 windows for my snow globe, and that turned out pretty cute. My wonky little house, and I am loving this. I just need to get a bunch of different papers to be the book covers, and I needed to add the little star pattern to the bottom shelf green book, along with the pattern for the red book as well. So those turned out really good too. And I need to add the red pattern up at the top, and I can start to work on the book covers like I said. So I started off by using white sticker paper, and then I'll switch over to clear sticker paper. It really does not matter, but either way, either type of paper works fantastic. So I just used my template and then folded it in half. And once I've folded it in half, I peel off the back first and stick that down. And now I can slowly peel the top layer. And what I do is I'm going to add some pattern paper over to the top of it and then just trim off what I don't need. And I start off with a really dark green, which I love this pattern paper. It's actually the bottom of my tree, so it works out great. And there you go. That is my book cover, and it looks so good. Now you can flip it open, and on the left hand side I can do my rating, and then I can also do the book cover as well. So just adhere that down, and that'll work fantastic. And I'm just going to keep going with making these book covers and finding all the different patterns that will mix well together. I grabbed this pattern from last year that had all like the woodland creatures, and since I am obsessed with Target birds, I decided to make sure that I get a bird pattern on one of my books. So I just kind of wrestled the paper to get that portion of the bird that I wanted, then adhered the sticky back down first, and then my bird pattern over the top of it. So there's multiple different ways to adhere down your papers as you go, and I didn't find one method to do. I didn't find one method that worked for me the best. It would probably work if I measured out everything, but I am not a person who wants to measure. I'd rather just go for it instead of wasting time trying to measure. Like this one here, I really wanted the D for December, but for some reason it was like 1/8 of an inch showing the sticky part. So I had to put a really tiny piece of grid white paper, and I actually am probably going to go back and fix that because it's driving me bonkers that it's right next to the other grid paper that I decorated with gold diamonds. But it just needed that extra piece right there, the grid, because it was just off by like 1/8 of an inch, I think, or something. It was really annoying. Now I've grabbed this piece of clear sticker paper. I printed on the wrong side, so I just threw it in my scratch bin, and now I'm going to use the clear sticker paper. And like I said, it really doesn't matter either way. It makes it so it's super adhesive to the paper, and it works fantastic. I love this pattern paper. It adds a little pop of gold, and so I will use that for the bottom left book. So after this book, I guess I get a little smart and I decide to cut out all of my book shapes ahead of time. Like I said a long time ago in the video, I had a whole house full of kids. So that's why this project took all day, but it was a lot of fun, and that's why I put together these books in like a multitude of different ways. Like it wasn't one specific formula that I followed. I was just winging it and putting these together in different ways. Probably would have gone faster if I stuck to a formula, but I did not. And that's okay. So I am going to speed this up a little bit, add a little bit of music, so that way you guys can see me put together a few more of the books. So the last pattern that I'm going to include is that bold woodland red pattern, and I will make sure that it is a different animal. I went with the reindeer. So again, I'm just holding it where I want to make sure I get the front of the book, and then I can cut it and go ahead and stick the sticky part down and add in my book cover, and that will finish up this book spread. And I really hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this entire bookcase come together, my December daily bookshelf. I have absolutely loved sharing it with you. I have to add some diamonds up to that book up in the top corner, and that is it, you guys. I'd love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Have a wonderful day. Bye.